Hello and welcome back to the Early Bar Football Podcast, episode 39. Am I crackly again?
Yes.
Right, okay. Oh, no, so annoying. Better now? Or worse?
Briefly better.
Do you want to do the intro?
No, it's quite funny listening to you do it. Listening to you do it from the inside of a tornado.
Oh, no. I don't know what it is. I think I've just got technical difficulties in the whole of my house. It's a bit annoying.
It just sounds like you're on the phone. You know, like when, somebody calls up to a TV show and they're just a little bit crackly, sound like they're outside. That's
so
what it sounds
annoying.
like.
Let me try put these headphones in.
Oh, what a start to the pod this is.
Is that any better in any situation?
No.
What's the point?
That's not the attitude we need. Come on, time.
Yeah.
I'm sick of these technical difficulties.
Apologies to all of our audio listeners.
I'm really sorry. Yeah, let's just do the pod, I guess. I'm so enthused now to do it. Anyway, it's episode 39. I'll try and do as less speaking as possible because of my voice in general. So, we'll see how that goes. But yeah, we're back for the second time in a week. Here we go. Look at that. Marcus saying twice in a week. What a treat. Nice emoji. That's unreal, isn't it? So yeah, we are, despite the audio issues for me, just me, we are back because Ash currently has COVID and he's isolating. How is COVID, Ash?
Yeah, it's all right. That's not the reason why we're doing 2 pods in 1 week.
It pretty much is.
Just because I have COVID.
It pretty much is.
Okay. But it's all right, yeah. Just boring isolation.
What have you done?
What have I done? Not a lot.
Not a lot. Okay.
Been on the pod, researching a lot for this important pod, of course.
This important pod.
The life and times of Erik Ten Hag.
Oh yes.
I was actually Cornelius Yol.
The thing is, that I went to look up about Erik Ten Hag and ended up in some sort of Wikipedia wormhole looking at Martin Jol and finding out that his middle name, was Cornelius. Very powerful name.
A great powerful name
for a powerful man.
Powerful. Wow. Ed, how are you this fine Wednesday?
I'm very, very well. I don't have COVID, but I do have a cold, so apologies if I sound worse than Tang.
No, I don't think that's possible. We'll see how it goes. We're just going to keep going until my phone dies. Basically, that's the plan. It's on 73 at the minute. 73 percentages.
We've got 10 minutes then.
We've got 10 minutes. But anyway, let's crack on. All right. Oh, actually, wait there. Ash has just turned up on my screen here. Do I turn up?
You've turned up.
Wow.
There we
Give
go.
me 1 second. Talk amongst yourselves again.
Oh,
this is
my
getting
Christ.
a common theme.
Embarrassing, really.
Oh dear.
I said the words, you're embarrassing there.
Yeah, we could lip read.
Good. All right, I think we're fine. So basically, all that needs to do is we need to talk for like the first 3 minutes of the pod. And then I'm
I
back.
said the words, you're embarrassing.
Oh, I've got myself in the background. Unreal. Right. We are officially back. Okay, so all we need to do is talk for 3 minutes of the pod, and then my laptop
it comes back.
So for all the viewers like that, I'm so sorry about that. But let's crack on with the first thing that we're going to talk about today, which is England. It's the international break, and the World Cup's obviously this year in Qatar in November, December time. And it's a case of who is actually going to make this England squad or this starting 11. I think a lot of there's talk about the goalkeeper. Obviously, defenders are a huge sort of huge talk about Rashford, Sancho, not being in the squad, and you've got the wealth of attacking talent that England have. You've got your Grealishes, your Fodens, your Mason Mounts, I can't think Harry Kane, people like that.
Sterling,
exactly. There's so many. So I think we're just gonna do a little bit of a deep dive into it. At this stage, on March the 23rd, 2022, if you are Gareth Southgate, imagine you are donning your waistcoat and have a beard, and people sing about you. Who would you pick for this England squad? And we're going to try and make a nice little starting 11 for England. So Ed and Ash are going to help me out and try and figure that out. And if any of you guys have opinions and want to shout at us and say you're wrong, you don't know anything about football, things like that, then do feel free to just comment in the chat bar and what you think. So the first place, obviously, to start is the goalkeeper. You've got Jordan Pickford, you've got Nick Pope as sort of the two there. Aaron Ramsdale obviously pulled out of the England squad, but he's probably up there, I would say, in terms of a second choice of he's probably there to knock Pickford off his perch, if you will. Dean Henderson's had a bit of a fall. I say a fall from grace. He's not really done much, which is probably why over the last season or so at Man United. And then I think Sam Johnson's come in, hasn't he, for this England squad, which is quite interesting to see a second tier goalkeeper.
I actually think he might have dropped out today. I think Fraser Forster's come in.
Fraser Forster,
which is lovely, by the way. Love that. I remember when he was in the squad. Must be like 10 years ago. Did he first get an England cap? Fraser Forster, something like that.
Yeah, that's wild. Okay, so let's talk about the goalkeeper situation at England. Boys, just let's open up the discussion. Let's open this floor up. Will Jordan Pickford be England's number one in Qatar?
In my opinion, should he be? No. But will he be? Probably. Because as we know, Southgate is somebody who loves to pick based on what they've done for him in the past. Is it somebody he can trust? And yeah, Jordan Pickford has always done very, very well in an England shirt. I think he definitely ups his game when he is playing with. I mean, it's like most footballers. If you're playing with better footballers, your levels go up yourself. He's obviously struggled quite a lot with Everton this year. I can't think off the top of my head of a game where he's particularly had a howler. That there's no games that stick out in my mind as to be like, oh, he cost them the game there. But Everton, as a collective, have been terrible this year, and he has to take some of the blame for that. If I were picking the team, it would be Ramsdale. I think out of the goalkeepers you mentioned, he's been the best by quite a distance this year. And also, one of the perks of Pickford is that he's got very good distribution. I think Aaron Ramsdale's distribution is as good as Pickford's, if not better. So if it was me picking it, it'd be Ramsdale. But I can, there's a lot of decisions that Southgate makes where you're like, oh, really? But then, he's got the results so far. So if he did pick Pickford, you couldn't really complain because in an England shirt, he has done it.
Yeah, and just before Ash comes in, he saved the penalty was it Jorginho's penalty?
Jorginho, yeah.
And if Saka and whoever scored their penalties, Pickford could be a hero. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's weird how the narrative can sort of change. So, as you say, he's not done nothing wrong. But sorry, Ash, I interjected.
Pickford is a hero. Are you forgetting World Cup 2018? He saved the penalty. Can't remember who the Colombian player was that missed the penalty.
But
I think it was
Baka.
Yeah. But anyway, great save. And he was immense, particularly in that tournament. To be honest, I think he had a relatively low-key Euros.
I thought he had good Euros as well.
Yeah, I don't remember him really making any outstanding saves or making any mistakes. So I think Jordan Pickford is one of those players that when he puts on the three lions, he turns into a different beast. Yeah. Because he has not been good at all for Everton for the last couple of seasons, I think it's fair to say. And Ed's right, he does have, he does have qualities, like he's got good distribution and things like that. But he's just been so poor. But when he puts on that England shirt, it's hard to say that he's ever really let us down, or I certainly can't remember any mistakes that he's made. So I think Ed answered it. Do you think he will pick him? I agree with Ed that he will pick him, and I actually think he should pick him. Ramsdale is better, probably, but we haven't seen him under that kind of pressure yet.
True. I think it's the age-old question with England and England selections in general, not just goalkeeper. Do you pick the team on form, or do you pick the team on maybe who's going to do a job for you or who you can rely on? And typically Southgate has gone with the latter. But there are a lot of people who argue, and there are always cases whenever a squad gets announced, it's like, oh, why hasn't such and such been in it? They've been amazing for the last couple of months. You do have to have that balance of players that you can rely on, players that have done it before, have experience, versus those that you're potentially throwing in at the deep end just because they're on form.
Yeah, I hear that. I think for me as well, Ramsdale, maybe just as it's me, and he is very good, and he's very young. He's got a bit of the Joe Hart's about him. I don't know what it is he does.
What a passion merchant, if you
And
will.
it worries me. I don't think he's necessarily a passion merchant.
Yeah.
I just think he is a slightly chaotic, and I know Pickford is as well, but he doesn't give me lots of trustworthy vibes. And I know we haven't got Chris on the pod to, call him Sir Aaron Ramsdale. And I'm not saying he's bad at all, because he is a very good keeper, and we've got to remember how young he is as well. But I think Pickford has been reliable, and I'd be surprised if regardless of form, even if Everton were to get relegated, I would be surprised if Pickford let us down in that situation.
Yeah.
Make a fair point, and I think that there's a wider point. I think for England as a squad, I think we talk about. I was listening to a podcast earlier, not this one, but the England goalkeeper and defenders, especially at the Euros and to a lesser extent the World Cup, haven't really let us down. I don't think in the last couple of tournaments, considering how average, I want to say average, how average the defence is in comparison to the attacking wealth that England have at the top of the pitch. The defenders and goalkeeper, as you say, haven't really let us down. They've been quite low key. They've done their job. We've had Tyrone Mings play at major tournaments. He's actually done okay. I would say England have been tactically outclassed. Especially Croatia.
Yeah.
And it's never been a defensive howler, for example, where you can say they've made a mistake, get them out. It's been basically down to Southgate, really, or the wealth of England attackers not doing as good as they should be.
People nullifying the threat that England possess and then nicking a goal. Yeah, completely agree.
So goalkeeper, are we landing on Pickford?
Yeah.
Let's go Pickers.
That was the most unenthusiastic. Yeah,
I believe in Pickford. Get him in. What a player.
JP. He's in. I'm not writing this down. I should write this down.
I'll do it.
Oh, there you go. Cheers. So the next question is loaded. Is it a 3 at the back or is it a 4 at the back? And we need to decide this, and it will obviously inform the rest of this squad.
It really is a tricky one, because if you go 4, you obviously get another attacking player. If you go 3, yes, you've got your 2 wing backs who are effectively attacking players, but there's a lot of so I've done a very brief 11, and there are a lot of players that miss out that potentially should be in the squad.
Yeah, this is where it gets tricky.
But as we just mentioned,
Ash wants 4.
Ash wants 4.
I'm inclined
I'm not
for 4.
against it, but I know where Ash is going if he goes for 4. There's a particular position.
No. Actually, I'm gonna stun you, because I'm gonna stop that. I know you're gonna think I'm not gonna pick Trent after yesterday's argument. Monday's argument. But I was actually, Ed. I was gonna say you can have him. You can have him in whether we're playing a 5, a 4. I will allow you to have him, and I will not. We don't have to go back over that.
Interesting.
I feel like Ash is playing the long game here.
Yeah.
He's definitely playing the long game.
Some ridiculous pick in, later on. No. I'd like to play a 4 just because. Well, I think it'd be more exciting. I think Ed hit the nail on the head where we can pick more attacking players. I think if we're picking 5, personally, I actually don't think we have that many wing backs really that are specialists in that position.
On the left.
Especially on the left. And I think he picks it because he worries about his centre-backs and he wants to be secure, which is fine. I'm not wholly against 5, but 4 is more fun when picking a squad.
Let's go for 4. Under the impression that Ash is his interesting sort of analysis of this is, if you pick less defenders, you can pick more attacking players. That's basically our justification. So let's do that. So back 4, we're going to do. Is it Trent at right back?
Go on, Ed.
Yes.
Okay, let's move on. At centre back then. I think we're going to pick Trent. We're not going to pick Reece James. We're not going to pick Tarek Lamptey. We're not going to pick Kyle Walker Peters, Trevor, or another one that comes off that whole production line of England defenders named Kyle Walker, starting Kyle Walker. So we're going for Trent. I think that's pretty solid. I don't see the argument against that. Do you want to justify yourself, or are you okay with that?
I'm okay with that.
No, there we go.
Yeah, the only thing I would say is when we come to the centre backs, that I'd like to pick my central
here we go.
pairing based on him being right back.
Oh, here we go.
We might need a bit more pace and he's probably going to be leaving his position at right back a bit more. So someone who's good at one-on-one defending.
Here's a
potentially.
question for you,
Go on.
Ash. If you put Trent in there,
Oh,
do you then have Henderson in your mid to cover that when he does go forward?
I assume. Well, I suppose we've picked the 4 at the back, and we're sort of leaning towards a 4-3-3. I'm
Yeah.
imagining because that's what
Naughty.
England have played
Yeah.
before. And yeah, I'm perfectly happy to. I mean, we'll come on to centre midfield later, but Jordan Henderson's probably one of the more experienced campaigners that we actually have. And bearing in mind, quite a lot of our other, especially attacking players, are quite young. I think, he sort of complements Trent if you play him in that sort of, I guess,
That makes a lot of sense.
right centre midfield kind
Yeah.
of area.
okay.
Cool.
So Ash,
Okay.
who are the centre backs that you've chosen then? to
I have
complement Trent?
chosen Tomori, who is not even in the squad,
Interesting.
the current squad. But
Yeah.
again, I think he is doing really, really well at Milan. Obviously, like we don't watch Milan. I don't think any of us watch Milan on a.
But they're
regular
in a
basis.
title race. He's
But
playing very well.
They're leading a title race. And
Exactly.
He is starting in that team, and he's made a real big impact because Milan, they've not been doing this well in previous seasons. And Tomori's made a really big impact there. And I think he's really good. And he was good at Chelsea. We forget that season under Lampard, where he was actually
He was
really
terrible
good
at Brighton,
Yeah.
by the way. Terrible at Brighton on loan.
Brighton away, yeah, shocker.
Oh right, that one game.
He, I think also a plus for him as well. He can play and normally plays left side of the centre back, which I think we've got a real lack of for England. Were you planning to play him right side or left side?
I was going to play left side, and my other
Yeah.
pick was going to be put my faith in John Stones.
Yeah.
Because I think he has the highest. He could play the best. I'm not saying he's not got a mistake in him, but he's got the highest ceiling to play well out of the other centre backs that we have.
Yeah, John Stones is another one of those who, arguably on form, shouldn't be in the squad because he isn't a starting player for Man City. But when he pulls on the England shirt, he hasn't put a foot wrong for quite a while.
It's an odd one. That I think we're going to be saying that a lot about. Well, we have said it a lot about England players already, but that whole club versus country debate. So, are you happy with John Stones and Fikayo Tomori? Lots of middle names. Ed.
Yes, yeah, happy with that.
You're very happy. Okay.
Is there anyone else do you think we've missed in that area? Because I've just thrown those 2 names out there, but I don't think if you asked, I think the general public and you just put those 2, I don't think they think they were the most solid.
What you've got to remember here is what we've definitely got to consider is that it's going to go up to the end of the season. Obviously, Ed's gone. He's fuming. He doesn't want to listen to me. Oh, he's turning the light on. So I was just saying how Ed's a terrible person.
Cheers.
No. It goes over to the end of the season. We'll get whoever wins whatever tournament. But there's also that weird period at the start of the season before obviously the World Cup happens, which I don't know. I feel that might the fringe players have like an extra go at things. I feel, which is a really interesting dynamic. So players like Ben White, if Arsenal finish top 4 this year, and then they start really well next season, which could happen to a lot of clubs. Does he play his way into that squad?
Well, I was going to mention Ben White actually, in that on his current form, he's probably pushing the England squad. He's obviously in the squad this time. Because I mean, Ash said, "Who have we missed?" I think there's probably Maguire, but on his current form,
Maguire
should be nowhere near it yet. Mings has been in the squad previously. Connor Cody. I mean, Connor Cody's an interesting one because Wolves have been very good defensively this year, but is he the right kind of player that we want in the squad? Probably not.
Not if we're playing a 4. I mean,
good as a backup player. Good in. I mean, when he was because he was in the squad for the Euros, wasn't he?
Yeah.
And I seem to remember a lot of people saying that he was really good in training and bringing the team together and sort of that off the pitch aspect that you don't see that often.
Yeah. And we're not putting Kyle Walker at all, unless Ash wants to play in left back, which is very rogue. But I doubt.
No.
I think he'd be in the squad.
Yeah,
but not starting 11 unless you play in a back 3-5.
Okay, so we've got Trent, we've got Tomori, and we've got Stones. Left back.
Tough one.
Go on, Ed, because I think
you've got Shaw, Chilwell.
Those are the 2, I think.
Maybe Trippier at left back potentially.
I don't want to.
Not really, but
I think it's between those 2, Chilwell and Shaw. Obviously, Chilwell has had an ACL injury this year, so he'll be back by the end of the season, I think. so he'll be
What
fine.
about Big Dan Burn, who's played left back for Brighton all season, and now he's killing it at centre back for Newcastle? It could happen.
No,
Playing a 4 or a 5.
Yeah, it's a hard no from me.
Right, that's my
solid-
early
solid
Bath
no.
prediction. Dan Burn will be at the World Cup. Cool. Ash, left back.
God.
Oh, I see. This is where the difficulties start to come in because we decided to play a 4. We've got Trent at right back, which is already he's going to bomb on. I feel like if you're picking Chilwell, you're leaving yourself. We're going to have some DM in there to or DMs maybe to fill those
Goes
holes.
down in the DM.
But and Chilwell's just coming back for he'll have not been that long back from a serious injury.
Yeah, they've had quite a while. I think he's due back in sort of end of April, May time.
Oh, is he? Okay.
Yeah,
I probably
he'll be
prefer
back then.
Chilwell to Shaw, but
Yeah, I do as well. But
Shaw
then
is
Luke
probably
Shaw
more
scored in the
defensively.
Euro final.
I don't mind really. I don't think there's that much difference between those two players. But I prefer Chilwell over.
Let's go with Chilwell.
Let's go
I
with
reckon
Chilwell. then.
Chilwell.
So we've got Trent,
Lovely.
Stones, Tomori, and Chilwell as the back four, protecting Jordan Pickford, JP. So
Next two, I think.
now moving
based
into
on what-
midfielders. Just if anyone has any comments on our back four and goalkeeper, shout at us. Put a comment in the chat. Same with midfielders. I think this is now we're getting to dangerous ground and
The business
controversial
end.
ground. The business end.
I think the midfield three picks itself a little bit.
Oh,
Interesting.
okay.
I
on
would
then.
propose. Oh, I don't know.
Oh, there you go.
back-
You said
backtracking
it
a
picks
little-
itself.
I'm going to
You've
stick with it.
backtracked
I'm
massively.
going to stick with it. So we've already talked about we want Jordan Henderson in there because he's a seasoned campaigner.
Wrong.
He's-
Go on.
and
carry
he
on.
will cover Trent, and he's got a bit more nous about him defensively,
Okay.
Mhm.
and he's a leader. How
But
weird.
who are your other two? Like, I want to hear your other two as the package.
Declan Rice, Shewin.
Okay.
You puffing Declan Rice?
No, I'm interested in that you've missed one person that I
Phillips?
think should be. So I'm saying Jude Bellingham.
Ooh.
How can
I
you
th-
leave him out?
Yeah, he's in mine. He's in my three.
That's why, because when you said Henderson, I was like, okay.
Just
And
add
then you said
Bellingham into your
Rice.
three, Ed, and that's what I have.
Interesting. My
Because
three.
with Bellingham,
my
I
three.
don't know where he plays in midfield. One, I don't watch the Bundesliga enough in Dortmund, but it seems like he can play defensive midfield. He can play box to box, but he also
yeah.
can be really good attackingly as
Yeah,
well.
I think he plays as an 8. I think he's box to box.
So how do you fit that in, Ed?
Am I muted?
No, you're not.
No?
You're
Oh,
there.
okay.
I'm just talking over you.
Oh, okay.
He's just
cool.
trying to buy
Sorry.
some time.
Yeah.
But
No, my three were Rice, Henderson, and Foden. Were the three.
what?
Rice,
Foden?
Henderson, and Foden.
How attacking's that? Look,
Not
given our
bad.
back four we just picked.
Yeah, Rice and Hen. I think Rice is a good shout.
So you can have Chilwell and Foden on the same as a left back and left centre mid.
No, Foden is the cam effectively.
Oh, okay.
Ooh,
So
you're having
you're in a
two-
triangle.
Two,
yeah, the
triangle.
triangular. Yeah.
Okay.
Good. Interesting. Okay.
But Bellingham's thrown me a little bit.
Bellingham's front. Ash, let's hear what you've done, and let's
Yeah,
see if
so
we can come to an agreement here.
I'm going for the upside down triangle.
Oh,
Of,
Triangular.
I think Declan Rice is a shoe-in. Brilliant player.
Okay.
The only interesting thing about that will be what club will he be at?
That will
when he comes
appease
to
our
play
West
for-
Ham fans.
Well, it could be anywhere. But
Oh yeah, of course.
yeah, he's he's definitely in it in that defensive midfield role. Calvin Phillips, I don't think he's played enough. Obviously, he's been injured. I did think he was integral to what we did at the Euros, and he is a good player. I would pick him in the squad, but I think Henderson and Bellingham offer quite a nice balance with Rice. All of them are quite physically imposing, all good on the ball, all have legs as well, so no one's going to not pull their weight. So I think that's quite a solid midfield, quite workman-like, similar to maybe what Liverpool do. And I think Bellingham just adds that bit of sort of class that maybe we haven't had from midfield in previous tournaments.
I think Bellingham's a shoe-in. He's 18, but he's played, I think, over 2,000 minutes this year in the Bundesliga.
Maybe we go Bellingham and Rice.
I had 3 must picks in this, like 3 players that I wrote down before anyone else, and he was one of them.
Yeah.
Is that Bellingham? Oh, I don't want to. Let's go back to the
No,
end. And
yeah, don't
actually,
worry,
we'll go
don't
for-
worry.
Yeah,
I'll
don't
come
worry
back to
about
that
it.
at the end.
So on midfield 3, what shaped triangle are we agreeing on here?
Well, given that we've got 2 attacking fullbacks, we should probably have a conventional triangle shape.
Oh, I love conventional triangles. My favourite type.
Can Henderson sit in the corner of one of the corners of the? Obviously, he's going to be in one of them. Can he play a DM role? I guess is what we're asking, or should we take Henderson out and put maybe Calvin Phillips in and go for the Euros pivot?
Well, I thought take Henderson out, put Bellingham in.
and play him defensive midfielder.
Yeah, Bellingham and Rice.
I think Rice is actually more attacking than you think.
Yeah.
I'd prefer to play Rice with Henderson.
So Rice
who's
is
your
more...
one? Who's your tip then, Ed? In that case,
Foden.
So
The
difficult.
triangle.
Foden.
Or Mason Mount.
No, I think that's just too. We don't need that many. If we're playing 5, then you get that sort of extra position in the middle. If you're playing 5-3-2, then I get that because your wingers are covered by your wing backs. Whereas if you're playing 4-3-3, I kind of feel like you don't necessarily need that man behind the strike. We're not playing 4-2-3-1, I guess is what I'm trying to say. If you're playing like a conventional 4-3-3, similar to what Arsenal plays, they got like a left-sided central midfielder, a right-sided central midfielder, and then I'm imagining Declan Rice is your pivot. Rice one side 8, and then Henderson other side. And then if you're losing, you can bring on your more exciting players like Mount. For Foden, I'd be tempted to play him if you're going to play him. Play
As
him
a
as a winger.
Interesting. Well, that's a whole other debate. So
hang on. So you're playing Rice at the base of your upside down triangle.
Yes.
Even though Kieran just said that he's more attacking than you think.
Yeah, but I think he is a defense. You can't. If you asked someone where does Declan Rice play, you would say defensive midfielder. 100%.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so if we go for Rice in the CDM position, then your 2 further attacking midfielders, but not necessarily attacking midfielders, but just further up, they are Bellingham and Henderson. Interesting. This is very interesting. Okay, so if you thought that was difficult, picking England's World Cup attackers now, this is very difficult.
This really is the business end.
This is this. If there's business ends and then there's business ends, and this is the business end. Kane is, I think, probably one of Ash's the 3. I can't remember what you call it. Shoo-ins. There is a really loaded question of what happens if Harry Kane doesn't play, is injured, for example, doesn't play, or is really badly out of form. Who actually
like it was at the Euros?
Exactly. Who at this stage in again March 23rd, 2022, who replaces Kane? And my answer to you probably would be maybe Phil Foden as a false 9.
As a false 9, yeah.
But there's not, like, when you go past Kane at this minute in time, there's not really much backup for him there, which is really interesting. But I'm assuming both of you are agreeing on Kane as the number 9.
Yep.
So that leaves our wingers, where you've got to choose between your Phil Fodens, your Jack Grealishes, your Raheem Sterlings, your Bukayo Sakas.
About 10 really good players.
About 10. Really. You could maybe play Smith Rowe on a wing as well. You've got a lot of players there, so let's have at it, lads.
Can I start with one of my last shoe-in? I said I had 3, so I had Bellingham, Kane, and my last one was Bukayo Saka, which is a bit of a. I'm not sure that would be for everyone, but I just think he's an unbelievable player.
I don't hate it, but I wouldn't have got him as a shoe-in.
I think he makes sense as a shoe-in, but I don't know whether I'd.
It's a debatable one. It's just, for me, he's just one of the most, or our best young talent. Maybe him and Foden.
20 years old, isn't he? I think.
Yeah.
One question I have then: if you're playing Foden on the wing, does that mean you're playing him on the left?
Honestly, I have no idea. I haven't thought about the winger. I was going to see what you said.
Because I was going to say Kane through the middle, Sterling on the left, and then either Saka or Foden on the right.
Cool. Well, the thing is about Sterling is that he's one of those players that he puts on the free lines, and he's unbelievable. He was our best player, I think, probably,
yeah.
especially attacking output in the last Euros. So it seems harsh then to say to drop him. And I think actually Sterling offers quite a lot of it's not just he's fast and he gets in behind. He also does that sort of thing where he picks up the ball and he moves across the pitch and moves a lot of defenders around. So he actually can play sort of in front of defenses. He's not just sort of like a where someone like a Marcus Rashford is more of like a I'm going to run in behind you and scare defence. I think Sterling can do it against a low block. Oh, it's a difficult one. I'd probably say Saka and Sterling, but that's probably not going to be very popular.
Ed, what are your thoughts on that?
I'm happy with that, but then like you say, it does leave out Phil Foden, which is why I had him in the midfield 3, which he can do. He has played there for City as a midfield 3.
Depends who we're playing, doesn't it? I mean, I think we should pick this. If we were in the final and we want to pick an 11 against the next best team in the tournament, who would we pick? Because all right, saying I'd pick Phil Foden in midfield if we're playing Azerbaijan at home, at Wembley. So yeah, that's
massive club.
I'm thinking, who would I want to come off the bench? Who's going to have a bigger impact off the bench?
That's another.
I think Saka would have an impact off the bench. I would feel.
I think
Grealish
Foden would be more though, and Grealish is obviously well documented as being a super sub.
It's
Grealish,
difficult.
I'm not really that bothered about, to be honest. But I know people love Grealish, but I'm not as huge as. I definitely have him obviously in the squad, but I'm not really bothered about him.
Doesn't get in the starting lineup. No.
But yeah, I think it's between Saka and Foden. I think picking Sterling makes sense based on his, what he's done. Although if we have Saka and Foden, that's two very young players next to Kane. Maybe want a bit more experience in Sterling, and then bring on the sort of fresh young players later on.
If you're picking players like Pickford based on England loyalty, it makes sense that Sterling is on there, right? So
yeah.
Okay, cool. I think we're basically there. Ed, can you quickly run through the 11?
Yeah, so in goal, we've got Jordan Pickford. Right back, Trent, John Stones, Tomori, Chilwell. Midfield 3 of Rice, Henderson and Bellingham. And then up front, Saka, Kane and Sterling.
That's a good
lovely
team.
I think
a good team.
I'll try and make a graphic of that and I'll post it and see what people think and maybe we get ripped to shreds on that. But we'll see.
That excites me. As England, we're all England fans here, boys. Do you not think that lineup, if that turned up on the first game of the tournament, I'd be excited by that team.
Very excited.
It's got a lot of weapons. Okay, maybe we're not playing a Foden, but we are playing players like Trent, who is going to offer sort of different attacking threats. We've got Bellingham, who's sort of new. It's kind of quite a new squad, but also we've got familiar names and good experience.
Like we've said before, it's kind of nice to have these players to pick and these players to come off the bench and things like that and have the depth. But very good. I'm very happy with that. And as I said, we'll try and post something along those lines. Ed, do you need to go?
In a minute.
In a minute. Okay. Well, we'll quickly move on to. Do you want to do El Clasico or Erik Ten Hag?
Yeah, we'll do El Clasico first.
Let's do El Clasico. Let's move on from World Cup. Let's go back to El Clasico. Ash, you wanted to talk about El Clasico because we missed it and overlooked it at the weekend. Barcelona obviously won 4-0 against Real Madrid at the weekend. It was a really good performance. People saying Xavi's the best manager in the world. He's going to be better than Pep 2.0 with hair, and he has worse players than Pep did. Did you want to just show your I'd like to hear your thoughts on El Clasico and why you wanted to talk about it.
Well, I think that I more want to talk about the reaction to El Clasico because obviously Barcelona said it. Winning. I'm not going to poo-poo winning 4-0 at the Bernabeu. That is obviously a great result, and given where Barcelona have been, under Ronald Koeman, a few months ago, is quite a big turnaround, and the run of form they're on is very, very good. So fair play to Xavi for sort of very quickly sort of going back. It's kind of something that you thought might happen, that they go back to a more stereotypical Barcelona style, like tiki-taka and all that kind of stuff. But sometimes these things don't necessarily work out as you think they might. But it actually has, and Xavi's doing well there, obviously. But then you look at the table, and they are
They're 12
what?
points behind, I think.
12 points behind Real Madrid, and people
Yeah.
are saying like Barcelona are back.
Hmm.
They still can't really, like they were just saying about Adama Traore. I'm pretty sure they can't afford really to sign him.
He's
they're
on
still
like
doing a lot of
15 grand a week or something. I think I don't know if that was actually just a social media rumor, but
there's still a lot of problems at that club, and saying Barcelona are back, I think is when they're still 12 points behind
there
Real
is the
Madrid is
Spotify
premature.
deal, isn't there? Which I think is playing a big part. There's a big Spotify deal for the Spotify Camp Nou. I think is Camp Nou, or whatever it's going to be called afterwards. Had a massive Spotify barcode on the side of it or something. But I don't know. I think that's part of the reason why Barcelona are back. They're getting that funding and they're getting the money back. I don't know how much money they'll actually get from that deal, but I think that's part of that whole narrative of Barcelona being back. They've got rid of Deadwood as well, I feel, and well, they've had to, right? So
it was interesting because they for a period were kind of stockpiling Deadwood, weren't they? They were a bit of a laughing stock of buying old forwards, basically. They didn't invest in their defence or midfield at all. So yeah, it's interesting to see how Xavi's come in and kind of trimmed some of the fat.
Yeah, exactly. Ash, did you have anything to add on the reaction around El Clasico there?
The last thing I was going to say is that they've also been a bit lucky, or maybe it's not luck because we all know Barcelona academy is fantastic, but they've got like Pedri, they've got Gavi that have recently come out of their academy, Arujo at centre back. Like, I think if without those players, I don't think you'd get quite the sort of fanfare that they have at the moment because they're really getting behind the sort of young La Masia grown players. And I'm not sure.
Which I think is part of Barcelona being, but I don't feel like they've had many of those good players come out of their academy for quite a while now. That's unfounded. That is very unfounded. I don't know who the last batch were or the last good batch, but Pedri and things like that. It seems like the feel good factor is kind of back there for them.
Yeah. What I would also say as well is I think it would have been a very different game had Benzema been playing, because I think with him being absent, Real Madrid lost a real talisman going forward. You look at who they had.
Handedly got them past.
Exactly.
PSG,
exactly.
didn't he?
You look who they had up front in the Clasico the other night, and it's just wingers really. So yeah, I think that would have made it a very different game.
Very interesting. Cool. Thank you for that. Anything else on El Clasico? No, you're all good.
No.
Right.
No. I'm going to drop.
All right. Bye, Ed.
Good session.
Love to see you.
Bye.
Bye now. Get him gone. Get him gone.
Get him out.
Just us two. So we'll talk quickly about Manchester United holding Erik Ten Hag talks. So this broke up yesterday, I think it was, wasn't it? I can't remember. Manchester United they have that. I think earlier in the week there was a 4-man shortlist, which Owen said was Ten Hag, Poch, I can't even remember.
Enrique,
and
Lopetegui.
Lopetegui, yeah. Good. I couldn't pronounce Lopetegui, so thank you for that. So that was the 4-man shortlist, and then news broke out that Erik Ten Hag is in talks of Manchester United. It seems like it's gone down to him or Poch. Poch is the more expensive one in terms of release clause. I think both of their deals run out next year. I think Erik Ten Hag said he's willing to leave Ajax at the end of the season or something along those lines. He's the cheaper option. And I don't know. I think there's something about Poch. What was the thing about Zidane that Owen was saying? Zidane wants the France job?
Yeah. So,
but then there's obviously the World Cup, and there's a lot of sequencing going on here. So the Poch thing, Poch might stay on until Christmas, basically. I think is what people were saying. But
I think PSG want Zidane.
PSG
wants France, and Poch wants Manchester United. So it's a bit of like a,
a love triangle.
Well, and then the French manager, I think is still under contract for the Qatar World Cup, which obviously in December. I can't remember.
The French
Didier
manager.
Deschamps.
It is Didier Deschamps.
There we go.
So there's a bit of a weird triangle going on there with PSG, with Manchester United with France, and there's a lot of moving parts, a lot of components, I think. So it's interesting. It's a weird one with Ten Hag. Where's for you? Who holds the most risk? If you're Manchester, if you're a Manchester United board, or if you're Ralph Rangnick, for example, because he's part of this process, isn't he? It's well documented. Who holds more risk, Erik Ten Hag or Mauricio Pochettino? Who's the more risky or more of a gamble, do you think?
Oh, definitely Ten Hag. Ten Hag, 100%. I mean, Pochettino's managed successfully in England for a number of years. He made a fairly bang average Southampton team, got them to heights that they haven't seen since he left. Or I think they were around like 6th or 7th in the table, which if they were there now would be hugely surprising. And then obviously he took over Tottenham, and we all know how good he was there. I mean, they got to the semi-final of the the final of the Champions League, beating Erik Ten Hag's.
My brother says Poch, though. No justification, just Poch.
What he wants Poch, or Poch is more risky?
I think he. I don't know. Nathan, give us more of an idea, please, of whether you want Poch or you think Poch is more risky. Carry on, Ash.
And if you look at Ten Hag's career, he's only managed one team outside of the Eredivisie, and that's Bayern Munich's reserve team. And there's this sort of idea that I saw a tweet from Miguel Delaney. He was talking about it, and he was saying basically that Erik Ten Hag is older than Pep or most managers. Yet for some reason, Manchester United fans seem to see him as he's like a young up and coming manager.
He seems like a 40-year-old man to me. I don't know how old he actually is.
I think he's late 40s, maybe early 50s. But it's something I don't understand the fanfare. So to answer your question, yes, Erik Ten Hag I think is the more risky one, which I think is then interesting to what we see on social media, where we've got this massive. Like, I go on my timeline on Twitter, and all I'm seeing is pictures of Erik Ten Hag like adorning, like those like big like sort of banners they do, with pictures of him like in the Manchester United kit, and you're like, what? Why are you so definitively thinking that it's Erik Ten Hag? Because I think it's a very difficult decision. I think they're both. There's pros and cons to both.
Exactly. I think what you've said in terms of Poch has managed managed two clubs in England, taken them both to heights which they weren't even expecting. But then on the other hand, he's gone to PSG where he's arguably underperformed, which I mean he has. He's got the best player in the world, and he's not winning games. I mean, they've lost 4 games this year, but and PSG is a very toxic environment, I think. Anyway, when you've got players like Neymar and things like that, so that goes in Poch's favour. He might have not be winning everything, but it's not. PSG's not a real football squad, I don't think.
It's not indicative of his performance of a manager, is it?
No,
they're a mess. They're a mess of a club.
They're a mess.
Thomas Tuchel managed there, recently.
Exactly.
And he's now doing incredibly well at Chelsea.
I just think PSG is just some sort of fantasy, fantasy squad that has all the best players, and you have to just manage them like on PlayStation. But then you've got Ten Hag, who's obviously got this Ajax connection. Everyone, there's a whole love in for Ajax, obviously. People think of Ajax what they will, but then he, as you said, older than Pep. He only managed one club outside of the Eredivisie, which is Bayern Munich reserves. But he is more the cheaper option, which is finances play a thing. But then also there's a whole thing of, he said that he's very much willing to work and is comfortable with working with a sporting director, because that's what they do in Germany, which is what Rangnick is basically going to do, or whoever someone at Manchester United is going to do. So he's more comfortable in that environment. So there's a pro to him there. My brother says Poch is more risky, not successful with big name players, which is what he will inherit at United. Therefore, Ten Hag in, #Ten Hag in. The big players, I mean, Pogba's out of contract. Cavani's obviously out of contract. Who knows what's going to happen with Ronaldo? Who's going to take on his wages if he does leave? So it could be stuck with Ronaldo there. What do you make of that, Ash?
I understand that viewpoint, because if you look at Poch's, time at PSG, like, look, they lost the French league last season.
Yes.
And then this year, obviously, they've bottled the Champions League, like bottled it
But
really
who hasn't
badly.
bottled the Champions League at PSG?
Yeah, but it's the manner of the defeats, the way they've gone out it's been hilarious, but from a PSG point of view, shockingly bad. But I just agree with you, Tang. Like PSG is such a unique sort of marketing experiment club where they just sign players based on their name and not how
The
they're going to
brand,
fit into the squad at all. So I think it's quite harsh to judge Poch by his time at PSG because, again, I'll use the reference of Tuchel. Even Unai Emery, to an extent, it came out and did okay at Arsenal. He's doing well at Villarreal now as
He's doing
well.
very well at Villarreal. He's with Villarreal further in the Champions League than PSG currently are. So
exactly. So it's just, I think the idea that Poch can't manage big players is a myth. And can Ten Hag? Ten Hag can't. We don't know if Ten Hag can manage big players. So that that it doesn't really. It sort of plays into that argument that Erik Ten Hag is the more risky option because we don't know. We know the Poch about Poch, whereas Erik Ten Hag has a lot of don't know. And with Ajax, I very much feel they're the kind of club, sort of the complete opposite of PSG, where you could put in most managers and they will do very well there because the structure around the club is very defined and it's like a machine. It keeps working, and whoever they put in, they tend to do well. Not always, but of recent years, the last sort of 10 years, they've done well.
It's an interesting one because then if you put him into a system at Manchester United where there is literally no system in place and literally no structure, and then what's he going to do? Are you waiting for him to build the structure or play his part in building the structure? It's an interesting one for him, why he would go to United, knowing that, but obviously it is Manchester United. You don't really turn down Manchester United. It's a very interesting one, and at clubs, managing the big names, you probably have maybe one, maybe two big name players per squad, I would say. Poch with Kane and arguably Son, maybe. I at the time.
I say he made them big players, though. I don't think Tottenham had that many big players before.
That's a really fair point.
Then he made them into, or at least he improved those players significantly.
And then at PSG, you've got, as you say, the ready-made players, which is Messi, your Neymars. Mbappe is basically there, despite how young he is. You've got Ramos, you've got Donnarumma, who's just despite being young, he's there. Those are 5 players that I've just named off the bat there, which are big players for any dressing room and could probably take over a dressing room by themselves. But you've got 5 of them. Not being successful with big names is an argument that you could make. But in Poch's case, I think it's a myth, as you say, but it's a very unique circumstance. It's an interesting one. I think United will lean towards Ten Hag for the reasons that we've stated. But it will be
maybe
interesting.
I was just going to say that I think going to Manchester United from Pochettino's perspective, I mean, it's in the media they've said for quite a while that Pochettino would be keen on that job, but I don't really get why. It's not obviously managing Manchester United, huge club.
What's in it for him is what you're saying.
Well, what I'm saying is I see a few parallels from PSG to Manchester United. Look at their last transfer windows. They've signed, basically just gone after big names with no plan. And so Pochettino is going to walk out of PSG where he's had, let's say, a negative experience overall.
With the big egos of Neymar, Messi, Mbappe, Ramos, etc., to an environment of Pogba, Ronaldo, and Maguire is what you're saying.
Yeah, well, yeah. Does he want that? I also think there's an interesting sort of angle that I think this is more of a UK-based thing, where fans in the UK seem to have this sort of negative sort of he's the media's mate sort of thing about Pochettino, and I think people don't like. I have to admit, even when he was at, when Spurs were having that time where they were doing really well under Poch, and the media were just fawning over him, like every single program was, how good is Poch, blah blah.
Like
blah.
the opposite of Jose Mourinho.
Basically. It was annoying, and I do understand that. But then, from a Manchester United fan, surely you don't care about that, right? Like that's annoying for the neutrals or the non-Manchester United fans. It's not annoying if you're a fan of that club.
Similar to Southampton fans now with Hasenhüttl. He's not the manager that lights up the Premier League every. He's just doing his thing. He's a very low key manager. Maybe for a Southampton fan, and you're more inclined, you consume more Southampton media. He's not, but similar to. And then again, this is the opposite of Marcelo Bielsa. Everyone knew about Marcelo Bielsa at Leeds. Maybe it sort of becomes an animal in itself. The reputation of the manager and that whole side of it. It's an interesting one to balance.
Definitely. I think Mourinho, you mentioned, is the biggest exponent of that. I mean, he's a completely different manager to Pochettino, but in the UK, he has that reputation that he's going to piss people off. And I think players get it in their head at Manchester United and Tottenham that it's okay for me to down tools because I've got the excuse of, well, Mourinho's a bit of a, he's gonna upset me, so I'm gonna, stop bothering now. But I don't know. Manchester United fans, get in the comments. What do you think, Ten Hag or Poch? But what if you're picking Ten Hag? I think, or I would like to understand why. What's the huge hype? I'm not saying wouldn't be good, and I'd probably rather see Ten Hag because I think it'd be more interesting.
Yeah, it's always nice to see a new name and
quantity. But why is there this massive sort of hype machine propaganda? It is propaganda pretty much from fans to see Ten Hag in.
It's similar to the propaganda of Ralph Rangnick, right?
Yeah,
similar. Like, what's Ralph Rangnick really done? I know he's done a lot, but he hasn't managed a club out, managed a football club in like 8 years, whatever it was that he hasn't done. So there's a whole thing around that. I agree.
And what's his role going? Because I have a feeling that he won't have as much influence as people think he will. He keeps saying in press conferences that when he talks about it, he's like, I'm not deciding it. So I don't think that. I think the whole Ralph Rangnick thing, he'll just end up being a bit of a 6-month sort of go between, and then he's gone. I can't see him sticking around for much longer.
We'll see how that goes. Anyway, we'll call that there. Is there anything else that you wanted to talk about that is non-football related, or maybe non-pod related, or whatever? Or should we just call it there? For
Martin Cornelius Yol.
Martin Cornelius. I mean, we touched on that. We can just say it again. Martin Cornelius Yol, the best name manager in football, maybe. I think so.
Best middle name for a manager, surely.
Let us know if there's anyone with a better middle name than Martin Cornelius Yol. Spurs' best manager over. Well, no, he was Spurs, wasn't he?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, he was.
Course,
I was thinking.
Spurs,
I was confusing him Fulham. Yeah, I was confusing myself with Fulham. But yeah, no, that was lovely. And twice in a matter of days is unprecedented scenes for us.
It's good. Not since our early Inception days we've been on.
I can't promise that this will happen again anytime soon, but maybe it will. But no, it's been fantastic. Anything else from you, or are you okay?
I'm excited for the Euros. Is the last? The World Cup.
The Euros.
The Euros in 2022.
2020. I'm so excited for 2 years' time. No, this has got me hyped for the World Cup. Actually.
I think that's a good squad. So we'll post the squad out on Twitter, and people can shout at us and say mean things.
We will indeed. So thank you everyone for listening and watching this episode, this Wednesday episode of the Early Bar Football Podcast. Please please subscribe, please follow as well. Smash all the buttons that you need to make that happen. And it's a wave and goodbye from just myself and Ash today. We shall see you. Wave and goodbye. We shall see you very, very